Hello and welcome to Zelda Speedruns. Today we're bringing you another A Link to the Past All Dungeons Restricted Major Glitches Tournament match. I am joined today by M. Kosler and Dow. How you doing today, gentlemen?
I'm doing all right.
Doing pretty well.
And we should be starting off soon because I'm not going to have them wait this time. And I will leave you to it. So thank you, gentlemen.
Cool deal. So like Nori said, my name is M. Kosler, joined by Dow. All Dungeons Restricted Major Glitches. We got two runners. I believe this is the number 2 and number 3 in the group. Racing up against each other, so they should be a pretty competitive race. It looks like we're already off. Emo sitting on a PB of 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 49 seconds, and Vertz with a 1 hour, 20 minute, and 47 seconds. But this is a pretty volatile category, right, Dow?
Yeah, I agree. It's easy to see 2-minute swings, sometimes even in a single split, so always want to be careful in this stuff.
Yes, it is. Approaches infinity. Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
But yeah, we're going to start off with Escape and Eastern, two kind of not super interesting dungeons, especially under this rule set. First 10.5, 11-ish minutes of this run. Kind of expecting him to just be walking around, doing whatever he wants. Yeah,
no matter what all we give, what glitches we allow our runners to do, there's still not really much that we can do to get rid of the interminable escape sequence. We gotta go rescue Princess Zelda from Hyrule Castle and all that. A little bit about the category itself. It used to be called All Dungeons No EG DG WW. Just an alphabet soup of major glitches that were restricted, so we kind of ended up renaming it. But this is a major glitch category, so we're going to see a lot of interesting stuff, but we've sort of locked out the most powerful glitches that we would have in order to make basically the dungeon interiors mostly like you would be doing in just sort of a normal playthrough. It's not exactly like it. There are especially some dungeons later on that are a little broken, but rather than just sort of getting into the dungeon and skipping directly to the boss, we still have to kind of get the big key, go walk through most of the dungeon, and then walk out. Ooh, looks like Emo left her key. Hopefully she remembers. There we go.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to miss the key there, actually.
Yeah.
You can go too fast, or just a small mistake. Key won't get to you in time.
Yeah, I've usually only seen it where, like, if you throw your boom too early and the boom, like, passes under the key and doesn't actually pick it up, the key doesn't have to reach you by the time that you reach the door, but it has to be, like, on the door for it to be counted as you picking it up as you make that screen transition. And so it was a little too far away for Emo, so it just dropped where it stood.
But yeah, we saw 2 different strats there for ball and chain guard. Thing about this game is that your strats kind of don't matter too much. The difference in most strat timings is about like somewhere between 20 frames and like 1 second. So what we're really expecting to see from the runners in terms of different like strats is just how well it's executed, more so than anything else.
Right, yeah. Just making sure that you're consistent, you're not screwing up on anything, because especially in this group stage, you're really trying to just make sure that you can get on to the brackets, to the elimination stage.
So runners are looking to have just the average lowest time possible, just to give them some safety in the wild card if they get a wild card. So expect to see maybe a little bit safer play in brackets or in group stages and wooden brackets maybe, but
Yeah.
But we have rescued Zelda, and we have to kind of take a back exit out of here. All the mind-controlled guards are in our way. They won't let us out the front gate, unsurprisingly. So we're going to go through the sewers, which is kind of gross, but I guess it's safe. I guess.
Yeah, it's mostly safe. There's really only 2 rooms, in my opinion, maybe 3, that can really trip you up. You've got the snake room, which we're going to see Vertz going through here. Sometimes, oh wow, just a full-on phalanx from the snakes for Vertz. Let's see if Emo gets a little bit better. Yeah, we've got a little bit clearer path. She still had. Usually, there's kind of one lane that you can take that you're able to squeeze by the snakes, but we saw with the phalanx it was just a straight up block charging after him. And then you're also going to see coming up here we've got the key rat, which is Vertz gets a decent key rat. It really depends on where this rat goes. That rat that Emo got was actually one of the better ones. That rat can go off into the top left corner and waste a lot of time for you having to go find it and boom that key.
Getting beat up by rats. I mean, the rats are...
They're super annoying. You can sort of pay attention for sometimes when they're moving. Whenever they hit a wall, they'll move clockwise, so you can sort of anticipate where they're going to go. But at the very beginning, when they pick an initial direction, it's 1 and 4, just wherever they decide to choose.
So yeah, we're done with escape, which is definitely the most important segment of the split. You know, nothing else matters after this point.
Yeah, pretty much. Whoever's in the lead is going to stay in the lead. That's how it usually works, right? Nah, I don't think so.
But yeah, here we're going to save and quit. Emo actually taking safeguard here, which is fine. It gives you an extra health for Eastern. Eastern on 3 hearts is definitely tough. It's not... You're going to intentionally take at least 1.5 hearts of damage, and so you don't really have much wiggle room here. So right now we're saving and quitting back to Link's house, and then I'm going to walk over to Eastern Palace, and then we have our first opportunity, which Vertz is not going for, which is Citrus Clip, which will be our first
See if
restricted
Emo
major
goes for
glitch.
it. Don't think that she does. Yeah,
Emo
they're both
is
not.
also not going for it, but it's one of those things, like, if it's good, it saves 6 seconds. If you mess it up at all, you're losing 20. So, very reasonable to not go for it, especially in a race setting.
Yeah, one of my opponents in one of my races went for it and lost a good 20 seconds, just constantly retrying. And you get stuck in that sunk cost fallacy of just, I'm just going to keep going. I've already made it over here. I'm just going to keep going.
Yep.
So yeah, if you're not confident with it, then just skip right on through. A little bit about Emo's thing. It'll be, I believe she gets silvers and become more apparent then, based on whatever silvers route that she does. But if she does the silvers death warp, then getting the Sank Heart here is actually better, because you're not going to have the health refill for later. But we can talk about that a little bit more when we actually get to that spot. Seeing Emo do the Stalfos room pretty nicely. It's all Vertz have a through his pot straight on up.
Yeah, definitely a room where you try to do it fast and either your pot misses, or you throw it the wrong way, or you accidentally walk and spawn too many skeletons. So definitely happens. Not a huge deal, but just something to pay attention to.
Yeah, we're coming up onto the 1.5 hearts of damage that you're talking about. We've got it's not really a glitch, it's like a damage boost to get to the Eastern Palace Big Key. Normally we have to kill all the enemies in this upcoming room, but if we just take a damage boost and use some iframes, we're going to get to that pot in the center and hit the switch underneath it. Very good from Vertz. And we can actually reveal that chest up there. Emo taking an extra heart of damage, but like Dal said, we because she took the same card were both at the exact same health total.
Yeah, it's pretty tight. Taking an extra hit there happens actually more often than you'd like, but
right. And then when you're at half a heart left, the final few rooms become a lot scarier versus the 1.5 heart.
Yep. And so now we're heading up into kind of the toughest rooms in Eastern Palace. Both of them did the Igor key really well, and then the last parts here just tough to consistently do well, and you got to react to a bunch of RMG. So let's see how Vertz handles, Zelda Gamer Room, which is right after Cannonballs.
Pretty nice.
Pretty good.
ZGR. I was a little worried he was going to whiff the top one, but figured it out. Well, not the exact same, but very close to the exact same RMG.
Yeah, so good job from both of them.
Gonna see some almost quick kills. Get into this top right corner, shoot 5 shots to the right, then continue to shoot all of our shots to the bottom. 5 shots at the beginning, set up so that the remaining 2 Armless Knights die very quickly, one after the other, so the game doesn't have enough time to put the remaining Armless Knight into its enraged state, which would full heal it, and they can start jumping around after you. So pretty good times from both of our runners.
Yep, and now that we have beaten Eastern Palace, we're going to grab boots and bombs, which is really going to let us kind of do whatever we want, basically.
Yeah. Very powerful items for this category.
Boots, in addition to letting us go fast, will let us easily clip into walls and kind of do teleports or other shenanigans to move Link to places he really shouldn't be, which is going to allow us to sequence break significantly. And then bombs also just let us do similar things, but a little bit easier to do.
So once both of our runners are going to get these bombs, they're going to actually head right on back to that sanctuary that we left Zelda off in. You're going to see Vertz pick up that Sank Heart that he left. And like I said, he gets that full health refill. Emo already had that Sank Heart, so she is 1 heart down. Now they're going to be heading over. Normally you can't actually get up here yet because you don't have the power gloves to lift up a boulder, but we're going to clip through the side here. Looks like both of our runners having a little bit of issues trying to get this clip. There we go. Emo gets the clip, and Vertz right after her. Clip through that little corner, do some movements. The camera got broken when we were doing that clip, so it's looking at a spot that our character actually isn't. So that's why they looked like they were jumping down ledges that didn't exist, but we eventually made it into the actual cave entrance that is just beyond that rock that we normally have to pick up.
Yeah, and this is typically the most dangerous segment of the run. I think both runners here are going to get silvers, which is dramatic.
We'll see when we. I'm pretty sure that Vertz is. I'm pretty sure that Emo is, but maybe she decides to switch it up for the race. We'll see, based on how they do this next upcoming clip. So they're going to do a spin speed clip into this corner here. Yeah, Vertz is doing the Hera clip. Yeah, they're both doing Hera clips. Okay, so yeah, they're going to be doing silvers. So as a safety that you can do in this category is we can go get the silver arrows right now as soon as we get the mirror. So they did a clip to get up on top of Death Mountain, and then they're going to walk down with this broken camera back to where the camera actually is looking. We're going to set up a mirror right over here. And looks like both of our runners are doing non-broken camera versions. It looks like they're both doing death warps. So yeah, they're going to take a death warp. The reason we have to death warp, because we're trying to get back to Link's house, because when we broke our camera and we decided to place our mirror portal, it actually put that mirror inside of Aghanim's, or inside the Hyrule Castle. And we have to do a death warp instead of just a save and quit, because a save and quit would reset or would remove the mirror from the map, but a death warp doesn't. Though you can still go back to the portal that you left earlier. And so we do that. They place that portal in a very specific spot so that when they go through the portal, it pushes them into the cave entrance, I guess, where the Pyramid Fairy lets them upgrade their arrows. You might think, why don't they just go ahead and upgrade to the Gold Sword? Well, you can't actually upgrade to Gold Sword until you have Tempered Sword. So,
which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, it would be super nice if you could. I think that would actually make that doing this save time. But alas, we can't. Just saw our runners go to that same corner and do Kiki Yeet. Yes, it's Yeet. We have interesting names for some of our stuff. And now we're going to do it Kiki Skip. They're called Kiki because we're skipping over the normal entrance to the first dungeon in the Dark World, which you would normally have to pay Kiki the Monkey $100 to get in. But instead, we use a little quirk in the sort of layout of all the underworld. It's all basically on a singular 2D map. And that cave that we were just in with all those little mini mold arms happened to be next to a room in Palace of Darkness. And so by clipping through that cave wall and hitting the screen transition, we're now in Pod.
Yeah. And in cave state, which is the state you get when you enter a dungeon without, not from the main entrance, you actually have 255 keys. So we use one of those keys to open up that first door in Pod, which is just going to save us a little bit of time routing the dungeon. Lets us grab the big key and then do the drop down key right after, as opposed to dropping down, mirroring back to the entrance, getting the big key, mirroring back to the entrance. So definitely saves time to do it this way. And the other big thing about Pod is that we're going to be stocking up on basically all of the bombs we need for the rest of the run. Not quite because we use so many in this category, but most of them.
Yeah, we're probably going to see our runners get somewhere 8 to 10 bombs, depending on how much they, depending on what strats they do in certain rooms.
Yeah, so here they're going to grab the big key and drop down, and normal routing in a glitchless cat or no major glitches would have you get this drop down key first and then grab the big key after, but we can see that that's pretty quick to just drop down like that instead, so it's pretty nice. And now we'll be coming up on what's normally a pretty difficult trick, but in this category nobody even thinks about it, and that's hammer jump. It's actually pixel perfect in 2 separate locations, so you have to be pretty precise with your setup here. Probably see a lot of pause buttons come out to get the correct pixel.
Yeah, our runner's pretty much right on top of each other. So Emo's gained a lot of time from her Silver's route, and actually Emo pulls ahead in Pod. So yeah, looking like a pretty tight race so far.
Yeah, so between Death Mountain and kind of the inside of this dungeon being a little bit scary, it's definitely possible that you're on like 1 heart or something right here, which is really why silvers are super valuable, because the boss of this dungeon is very difficult, even for some of the best runners. You're going to have lots of difficulties with them. I've seen basically every person who's ever run this game die to this boss, even with more than 5 hearts. Like, it's just sometimes it doesn't cooperate. But silvers will make it so there's a lot less to worry about with the boss, and you can kind of just one-shot him, which is really nice.
Ham with the memery in chat. We're going to see the first dark room coming up here. Got a lot of different strats that you can do. Emo's just going for the very safe and reliable, just go up and throw the boom. This coming up turtle room, much easier in other categories. Here, because we don't have something like the Master Sword, we have to kill all these. If we want to kill all these turtles in one shot, we have to kill them with the hammer. Emo cleaned them up pretty well. Same with Vertz. Vertz decided to wait for both of the turtles to flip back over. But yeah, Helma, 17 hits. Ooh, nice key dash.
17 hits and 1 arrow.
Yep. Yeah. Just 1 arrow with the Silver's Root makes this fight significantly easier and significantly safer. Nice job there from Emo. You see Vertz holding out the sword. That actually extends the hitbox of the hammer just slightly a little bit, and it keeps it so that you're constantly facing forward, so it's a little bit easier to maneuver around the room. But also a pretty good fight from Vertz. There is a little bit of RNG in this boss, depending on how many fireballs he shoots. Those are definitely the scariest parts of the boss, and usually you see runners take it very, very safe when they do so. When Helma shoots out those fireballs.
Yep. And then now we're going to be off to Tower of Hera next. We need to grab the Moon Pearl because we will be needing to get through Dark World. Moon Pearl lets us stay in Dark World as Link instead of as Bunny. And the other interesting thing about Cave State is that it allows Link to be Link inside of Dark World. But it's kind of a hassle to enter every single dungeon through Cave State. So we would prefer not to do that. So we're going to be grabbing Moon Pearl next and beating Tower of Hera.
So we're going to see this clip that Emo's doing very often in this run. It's probably the most used clip that we do, that little clip to the top of Death Mountain. We call it a Hera clip. There's a couple different versions of that. There's the spin speed version that she did. There's also a boots clip version. We won't really, without doing the DMA, we won't really see boots clips until all the way in...
I think Desert's first.
Yeah, Fluteless Mire, I think, is the first actual boots clip that we're going to see. So we'll wait for then. We'll see. Looks like Emo's setting up for, the sick boom dash. Oh, but didn't get the stop for the coffee break. But still. You want to talk a little bit about what that boom dash is?
Yeah, I mean, if you press, 2 buttons and a direction all on the same frame, you can throw the boomerang, start a dash, and also throw the boomerang down. Normally you'll just throw it in front of you, but if you do a direction on the same frame, you'll throw it in that direction. So it just lets you get into these and flip the pegs a little early. Say it's like 40 frames or something.
And if you happen to stop your character while they're still on the pegs, then you can just hang out. And that's why I call it the coffee break. Just take a sip of coffee, take whatever's nearby, and just chill out instead of having to pay attention to not get hit by the tiles.
But yeah, unfortunately, we can't skip that tile room. It's like 40 seconds. We really do need the big key here to get the Moon Pearl. Which we will be doing a bomb jump to, which, once again, bomb jump's normally a big deal, but in this category, like, you barely even notice them.
Right.
And it's going to save us having to walk all the way upstairs, fall down onto the big key. It's like, 15 seconds or so. Pretty significant.
Yeah, Vert's having a little bit of issues cleaning up these hard hat beetles, but gets through it. Meanwhile, Emo does a good bomb jump.
And then Vert's taking the safety switch there, which is good with his health situation. Yeah. All it takes is one mistake and it's over. So, pretty good idea. Normally, for Emo here, it would take 6 hits with the sword to beat Moldorm, but Hammer does it in 3, which is nice. Vertz missed the bomb jump.
Yeah, Vert's taking a big fall there.
but it's also nice because it skips Moldorm's Enrage phase, so it never goes super fast. It's much easier to deal with.
Yep. From here, after Emo finishes up this little cutscene, we got to get off of Death Mountain because we want to get to some of the other dungeons in the Dark World, but we still don't have anything that we need to do or anything that we need to actually get through those spots, the normal Dark World portals, and we haven't killed Agnum yet. But what we can do is we can do a DMD, Death Mountain Descent, to just clip on down off of Death Mountain. Yeah, and chat pointing out once again, Vertz having a little more trouble with.
But good recognition from him, realizing that he's gonna run out of bombs at this rate. Not because of this, but because of how many more we're gonna use later in the run. So he mirrored to the start to kind of respawn all the dungeon items. Unfortunately, it also respawns the enemies, but that'll mean he can get more bombs now, which is good.
Yeah, more bombs and get this heart again in this petting zoo room.
So yeah, Thieves Town on Emo's side is
there we go.
Relatively straightforward. We do have one room we need to tackle a bit differently from how we would normally, and that's in the basement. Otherwise, it's pretty straight dungeon, pretty linear. Well, not really linear, but lots of places to just dash and go quickly.
It's finding all the holes, all the unfortunate holes in Tower of Hera to fall through. Ends up eating the bumper skip as well.
Yeah,
but like we've said, all over the place. This category is a pretty volatile category. So Emo's ahead right now, but there are plenty of spots where things can go wrong, and people can, and the lead can go right on back to the Vertz. Still exchange hands pretty easily.
Emo, doing a pretty good job in Thieves here. We go all the way upstairs, bomb open that conspicuously lighted up bombable floor. Wonder why that is. Which we will need a little bit later. And she's gonna probably pick up this bomb. Yep. On 10 bombs, which is the maximum. We would get more if we could, I'm sure of it. But 10 is the max. So
here's the different room in Thieves. Ooh, very unfortunate. I thought that was 100% gonna hit.
And the hammer hitbox.
Yeah, a little short when you don't have that. When you don't have that sword out. Yeah, normally we would have to lift up that rock in order to get through, get down through, but we still don't have any sort of gloves to lift rocks. But luckily, very luckily, the developers added in the ability for you to kill all the enemies surrounding in that room and open up the side door. Otherwise, I think this category would be very, very different. If they didn't have that there.
Probably silvers would have to get them because you'd want to do Mire early, but yeah.
Yeah.
But here we're getting ready to fight the boss of Thieves on Emo's, and missing that arrow drop, but with silvers, not as big of a deal. So. This fight is pretty much on rails, so if you figure out what to do and do it the same way every time, you'll never get hit. Boss fight will be over exactly the same way. And Emo doing exactly what she needs to do here. Oh, slashed a little bit early, and now the fight is off the rails, which she fixed it. But yeah, always scary when it goes a little bit off the rails there.
Yeah, absolutely. little bit of a time update for Emo. She was doing pretty well, keeping up with her PB pace.
Okay, good.
Ooh, okay, good. Yeah, you can sometimes leave that very not the exact same way, but similar to what happened with Emo, where she had to go back into the blue key guard room and escape. If you leave that screen before the bomb actually explodes, the floor won't blow up, and you need that floor to be blown up so the light gets on through and reveals the maiden to be blind all along. So very, very good that Vertz recognized that early and immediately went on back.
Yep. And then in this Skullwood segment and the upcoming desert segment, we're pretty much going to do almost all of our little like side stuff that we need to do. Here, Emo's grabbing the book, and she also picked up 300 rupees. She's going to pick up another 300 rupees in a bit, and that's going to be all the money we need for flippers a little bit later in the run.
Yeah, hold on, I gotta do this for Zero. It was blind, Austin. It was blind all along, Austin.
Actually, we're seeing the new frog door tech from Emo. It saves what, like 15 frames or something? 20 frames? I don't know exactly how much. You actually just mirror in the door, which is something that we didn't think to do for a really long time. I don't know why, but we didn't.
I think Duck will be able to to correct me, but I think that was a strat come up by a runner named FSG.
Either FSG or Zero. Not sure which.
Zero and FSG, so both of them. Gotcha.
But yeah, here we're also grabbing the Tempered Sword, which is going to be the only sword upgrade we get in this run. And it is very powerful. Roughly 4 times as strong as our current sword.
Vertz is off blind script.
Okay.
Nice. Cleaned it up. The blind fight. I don't know if I don't remember if you mentioned this when Emo screwed it up. But in this category in particular, if you have to do the refight for blind, it is very, very scary.
Yeah. Normally, if you mess up and you need to do a refight in pretty much any other category, you'll have beams, which don't make the fight easy, but they make it manageable. But here, the first sword does not have beams, so good luck, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's probably almost worth it to just leave the dungeon and come back much later in the run with how much harder it is.
Yeah.
Now Emo's into Skullwoods. Skullwoods is kind of an interesting dungeon in that it's supposed to be a maze. Bunch of different drop-downs. This is the worst room in the game, pretty much. At least in this category.
Worst room in this category. I will.
You can see the mummies not cooperating at all. They take 2 hearts every time they hit you. And once they hit you once, it's like, ooh, you might be getting hit a little bit more often too.
Yeah. And while this particular dungeon is very similar to what you're going to see, very unlucky push guard there, very similar to what you're going to see in other categories, you are basically here as if you didn't pick up Sync Heart in the No Major Glitches run. So you're a little, for probably both of our runners, Emo actually taking a death there, didn't get the pixel correct.
The death is probably okay. It gives her more health.
She will need to remember, and she's doing it right here, so we get to point it out. Whenever you die in a Dark World dungeon and you haven't killed Aghanim yet, you have fake Dark World, and Duck correctly pointing out that she wouldn't necessarily have to fix it here. But whenever you die in a Dark World dungeon and you haven't beaten Aghanim 1 yet, you're put into something called Fake Dark World, where the dungeon sort of resets to like this weird like light world state, but you're in the dark world. It's really odd. But if for some specific dungeons, like Misery Mire and Ice Palace, it can cause some hard lock issues. Other dungeons like Thieves Town, it can cause issues if you end up doing an overworld transition while in fake dark world. It actually puts you back in light world, and it gets really weird. But turns out, yeah. What Duck said. When we finish the end of this dungeon, we're just gonna save and quit. So it should have been fine.
Yeah, probably the worst thing about taking that death there and using a couple extra bombs was using the couple of extra bombs. Bomb route is actually pretty tight in this category, so hopefully there's a good drop there from the berries, but hopefully it doesn't become an issue later. Doing nice mummy hallway there. Lots of strats for that room. Whatever gets you through there without getting hit is good.
Emo is having an adventure in Skullwoods. Speaking of adventures, we're seeing Vertz doing his mummy statue room, and his mummies are not playing around either. But it looks like he's at least successfully navigated around them without taking any damage.
So Emo's fighting Moth. This boss also has a tendency to not behave. I think. Yeah, Moth's sticking to the top like that. If you're not right on top of you from the start, it's just like it's hard to get back in the fight. Especially missing the double poke early made it pretty tough.
Yeah. Of the boss deaths that you can get, this is probably one of the least impactful, because you have that back entrance that you have to go through, so you don't have to walk that far. She did have to get a refill on magic, which she got from the mummies there, in order to get through the mummy hallway. Yeah, ooh. And almost got a moth hold. Oh, not really, but you saw the hand at least. Down to one heart. Oh, and cleans it up.
Yeah, the fire rod displaces Moth by a lot, especially if he runs into a spike or something. For whatever reason, it just goes flying around the screen. So fire rod is pretty useful because you can take a safe distance away, but sometimes just the way it works is a little bit scary.
Yeah, you throw that fire rod at it, and then Moth just at that time gets knocked halfway across the screen, and then decides, "Hey, I wanted to start moving down." We had a question in chat. What does ADRMG stand for? AD is all dungeons. RMG is restricted major glitches. And hopefully, we'll get some helpful folks in chat giving the command for what exactly RMG.
Yeah, in the Moth fight, you can see Vertz struggling with it here, which is just that the conveyor is as uncooperative as Moth is. So, okay, good job from him. Good job finishing that fight. But he was fighting that conveyor for a while, which is definitely one of the toughest parts about that fight.
Yep.
And then here, Emo, now that we've finished Skullwoods, we're going to do our next major section of collecting. We're going to grab Ether Medallion, which is on Death Mountain, and we're also going to grab the Flippers, which somehow are also on Death Mountain, I think.
Yeah. Kinda. We basically, similar to what, similar in idea to what happens with when we went from Death Mountain to Pod. We're going to go from Death Mountain to Zora's Domain by doing an overworld screen transition coming off of Death Mountain all the way over to pretty close to where Turtle Rock's entrance normally is. Ooh, Emo getting dead rocked. Gonna run off screen to reset the dead rocks.
yeah, waiting for them is about a 10-second or so time loss. If you dash off,
Yeah,
it's only like 4 or something. But either way, it's very annoying.
Yeah, absolutely. I think somebody has a Twitch emote that shows their displeasure with Dead Rocks. Yeah, it looks like a chat is providing that Twitch emote.
But yeah, Zora's Domain is actually like right on the screen below Death Mountain, so you can do a transition low, and then it'll end up, or you can do a unintended transition, walk right into Zora's Domain, which is really nice because it's a hassle to get to otherwise, way up in the corner.
Do not adjust your TV screen. This is Zora's Domain, but because we went into Zora's Domain from Death Mountain, it's still loaded the Death Mountain tile set, and so it's trying to use that tile set in the best way that it can to represent Death Mountain, which is why things look a little blocky.
Yeah, so here we're going to get another bomb clip from Emo. We're going to Desert, but we're kind of going to go through Meyer to get there. Oh, she's not doing the bomb clip, I bet.
Yeah, looks like
I don't know what she's doing. There's a variety of things on the screen you can do. She's just walking around. That's fine. The bomber, as we saw, it hit her. No matter what stretch you do, it's going to hit you. So you just kind of pick something and pray. But here we're getting our first, our second teleport of the run, but our first boots clip. We're going to clip into a specific spot, press into the cliff, put you on the nearest available tile that the game considers valid, which just happens to be a spot where we can get up onto that cliff and walk on over to Misery Meyer's side.
We set up that portal while we're here, so yeah, we can quickly get to Desert and then right on back to Meyer once we're done here.
Desert's interesting here because since we go in the back entrance, we actually kind of do it what feels like backwards, but not really. The other interesting thing here is that normally you get the gloves in Desert. If you get the gloves here, that is an issue. It would actually downgrade you from, it would take away your mitts and give you the gloves, which is not great.
Here we're saying on Vertz's side doing the bomb clip that Dow was mentioning. Dashing into the bomb as it's exploding. Very similar to what we did in to get the pod, but was just very slightly, but was going up instead of down.
Yeah, Vertz was just 1 pixel off on that teleport. This one's good. So it's easy. It's pixel perfect for the teleports. It's tough to get a read on which pixels are going to work, especially if you're not set up in a way that you're used to. So it's pretty easy to be off by just 1 pixel and ruin it. But the other nice thing about Desert is we have Fire Rod and Tempered Sword, and it makes the boss fight here a breeze. It doesn't make it any less frustrating because the Lamolas still do not cooperate as often as they should.
Right.
But it does make it easier.
Yeah, Emo taking a little kiss from this Igor here. I think that's gonna put her at no. Oh yeah, it did put her at 2 health. If you get hit by it while in that screen transition, I think you end up taking an extra 1 in the screen transition. But Emo had a pretty good Lambo and was able to clean it up in a single cycle, which is a pretty good reason to run this category.
Yeah. Now, in this category, you complain when you get a 2 cycle. In bow categories, you complain because you got an 8 cycle.
But one thing we should point out, she does have silvers, so it didn't really matter that much here. But she could have used silvers instead of the.
It does save a menu, which is about 7 frames to not switch over to silvers. So definitely there's pros to not using arrows here. I think with their arrow counts, they're probably good for the rest of the run.
Yeah,
they're
they
definitely
should
good
be
for the rest of the
fine.
run with silvers. So
I mean, if
up to
they
them,
do, if they do bow Vidi, then they might need to get more. But
yeah, it'll be close. But I think we have 5 still guaranteed on our way, and I can't do that math right now, so I'm not gonna bother. But yeah, you can see on Vertz, he got kind of not an easy pattern to deal with, and you know, it just happens that way sometimes. They still don't cooperate, even when we have all this equipment. Which is pretty bad.
funny to me that both of our runners got silvers, but used Fire Rod for Landmo.
But yeah, actually, here in Mire, this is probably the dungeon that's the most different from
Yes, absolutely.
other categories to this category. We actually grabbed an extra key, which we wouldn't normally do here, because we're going to get the hookshot is definitely not normally found in Mire, so we're going to have to do some shenanigans to get over to it. But first, we have to do just normal torch lighting here, so we can grab the big key out of
My extra shot. Okay. Did not accidentally shoot again. That would have been pretty unfortunate. But yeah, we have to get the big key out of here, and for reasons that are beyond my comprehension, we have to move the wall here, which is what is happening after Emo lit all 4 torches in order to do the next clip that we're going to do. So picks up the big key, makes a big old loop, and going to be right back where she was in those torches, and then she's going to do a bomb clip into the wall, and similar to what happened with Kiki Skip, we're in the underworld, so the map's all set up on a 2D plane. So we the room with the torches is next to a room in Tower of Hera, which we're not doing anything in Tower of Hera, but it's just sort of an intermediate stop on the way to our final resting spot. Yeah.
That very room is actually technically in Hera, which is why the warp takes us here. And we use that to refill our health, which is pretty important. Maybe not with silvers as much, but depending on what strategy they go for on the boss, you might be taking up to 5 or 6 hearts of intentional damage.
Yeah.
So it's definitely pretty meaningful to get those fairies.
Yeah. Ooh, very nice. Very nice Heritage Swamp. So what she did there was the second half of the trip to get from Mire to Swamp. Did another bomb clip into the wall there, and walked up a couple pixels, and then pressed into the wall, and that made her teleport down into the screen transition, which got her into Swamp. Ooh, no chest turn, reset.
And then the great thing about the mirror is that it'll take you back to whatever dungeon entrance you came from. So it'll put us right back in Mire, and let us finish it pretty easily. Which is not, like, you basically would practically mirror back anyway, so... we do still need to grab the red cane, Cane of Samaria, which we're going to do right here. It is required for... Well, it's only required for one thing, which is getting into the Mire basement, but it's also required for Turtle Rock, unless you want to hover all of it, which I don't think anybody does.
Vert's having a little trouble using the just the eyeball setup for the Mire to Hera clip instead of the bonk setup. So I had to try it again. We are coming up to the spooky for all dungeons. It looks like Vert's got out of the clip there. Anyways, Emo is going to... Ooh, actually, she's not even going to do it. Yeah, okay. So no, we're not going to see a spooky from Emo. We'll see if Vertz ends up doing it. Vertz ends up making his clip. I believe that was second try.
Yeah, I think so. It's a pretty tough clip. It's honestly one of those ones where if you don't lose a ton of time doing it, it was good. That's how tough I think it is.
Yeah, Emo definitely forgot to void the block, but then also used the Samaria block anyways. But luckily in this category, at this point, we're not starved on bombs, and there are plenty of other opportunities for us to get up and get more bombs. So if things go wrong with Spooky, we can just use one of the bombs that we very likely have at that point.
Yep. Interested in what strat? Okay, taking that hit there.
Taking that hit pretty much guarantees that she's going to be doing bow vitreous.
Yeah, this is still a pretty scary fight. The eyeballs actually do the small eyeballs 4 damage if they touch you. Oh, okay, even with silvers. But okay, and then Vertz also a little low on health because he had to do. I think he took a little bit of extra damage in the Hera setup. So
yeah, a little extra in Hera, and then I think a little extra in the second trip through Mire 2.
Which is just another reason why silvers are a fantastic safety. Like,
yep.
It's pretty easy for this split to go south, and then you know you're on 3 health for the boss or whatever, and your normal damage boost strat's not going to work. So you have to kind of figure something out there.
But now we're Emo's, so we're seeing what Vertz do on his side. What Emo forgot to do, avoiding the block in the pits to the side of the bridge. When you do that, then you do a little dash as you plant your second block, because you're, not to get very technical, but you're sort of positioning things in memory so that they're in one spot instead of the other. And so we're gonna hopefully see from Vertz the spooky setup. 2, 3. There we go. So doing all that nonsense with the block, set it up so that after when he did that fire rod dash and then dash up to the top there, ended up hitting the switch that we saw Emo go and hit with her sword. It was in the other screen with the splash from the fire rod.
Yep, and also pretty conveniently, after beating Mire, we're only like 2 screens away from Swamp. So unfortunately, there's a mountain in our way, and we saw Emo kind of jump over that mountain using another teleport, another boots clip, and yeah, that gets us to Swamp pretty easily, which is really nice. And Swamp is definitely a spot where the runners are gonna take a second to like double check their bomb counts, their arrow counts, and be like, do I have enough? We definitely have plenty of opportunities in Swamp to refill both of those. Depending on, I think you only need 5 bombs to finish the run out here. So
you really only need 4. It depends on if you escape from the back from bombable floor with your Samaria block or not.
True. And I guess you could manage with 3 as well if you teleport to Ice Rod. Both of those are kind of things that you would not prefer to have to do. Like, if you're going to do them, you should make them your own, like your main strat. Not have to worry about them too much. But Emo going for this is the newest development. Diver down right here. This is going to clip into the rail, uses some Samaria block, do a couple of inputs that are pretty precise. There you go. And just hop right in. Okay, it skips quite a bit. Done well, it saves 7 seconds or something. Which is a big chunk of time in this category for sure.
Yeah. It's cool to see these newly discovered glitches find a home in this category.
Yep. And we're off to probably one of the toughest boss fights to do optimally, especially if you place a Mario block. But
I'm sorry.
that's pretty funny.
Emo, yeah, hooking these puffs, hitting him with a slash. I believe I saw Vertz practicing the Zero Cycle, so we might be able to see him go for it and give a little background onto that. We are seeing Emo, if you've ever watched even like a randomizer or anything like that, a lot of the times people switch over to the Fire Rod for this second phase here. We really don't want to do that because we actually want to be on hookshot for the fastest version of getting over to Ice Palace. So we'd rather just stay on our hookshot than switch off and then have to switch back.
Yeah, it only loses like 20 frames or something to switch to Fire Rod or Silvers or whatever you want. But, you know, it's a little bit easier to just spin instead. So
Yeah.
faster and easier, always going to take that.
Gonna see Diver Down coming from Vertz as well. Looking pretty good. There
Nice.
we go.
So maybe Emo was actually onto something with placing that cane block, because if you are pushing a Samaria block while you grab a crystal, it despawns your shield and it saves 40 frames.
Oh,
So
wow. Damn.
I think it's like 20 frames or something to place it though. Okay, here Emo is going for the mirror wrap. This is a little scary. Yeah, you have to press 2 buttons on the same frame, even though she already pressed 3 buttons on the same frame earlier in the run. 2 buttons at the same time is still impossible.
Yeah, hardest thing to do. We're seeing Vertz attempting the Zero Cycle. Got a couple of puffs in. So there we go. Emo did the mirror. Ooh, okay, good. That pause had me a little worried.
Okay, so now we're in Ice Palace, which is kind of neat. Doing another bomb clip here to skip kind of first a little bit of ice. Going to bomb open this, and we're going to not go down. Not going to see Ice Palace bomb jump in this at all, because we're instead going to see this new, also pretty new, icebreaker clip.
Within the same week as Diver Down? Maybe a week after. But yeah,
Nice.
Both found pretty quickly, and a very good setup from Emo. Not a great tongue room. Easily a 530 from that tongue room. But yeah, we do some nonsense with the door frame to make the game think it wants to push us out, like you do when you're going up or down on the door, instead of just making us stop. And by doing that and setting it up with the rail in the middle of the screen, we just kind of like push right on through the rail. You can see Vertz also going for the Ice Palace mirror wrap.
So kind of the nice thing about pressing left before the button is that you just transition as opposed to mirroring. It's a little bit faster way to mess it up. And then one of the hard things is finding the entrance ice.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's see. Emo.
Ooh, taking a hit. Ooh. Okay.
Gold is one of those bosses that if you do it right, do it perfectly, do it the way you've practiced, you're not worried about Cold Stare at all.
Right.
But as soon as you mess up even one input, it's tough.
Yeah.
You have to react. You're going to take 4 hearts if you ever get touched.
Yep.
We don't have that much health in this game. 4 hearts is pretty significant still. So always one of those things that you're never really nervous for, but you're always a little bit nervous for.
Yeah. This category, Cold Stare is an easier fight in this category than in NMG categories, because you're coming at here with a little bit more health than you normally would. But still, it is a pretty scary fight.
Yep. And there's a couple of different strategies for Cold Stare. All of them are within about 15-20 frames of each other. So just whatever you find that works is what you're going for there.
So last little bit of things that we need to get before we can head and finish off the last few dungeons we have. We do have to pick up this ice rod. Emo just gonna be doing it the developer intended way, going all around the side here, planting the bomb, picking up the ice rod. There are a couple of other clips that you can do, save a little bit of time, but if you screw them up or the game just sort of messes up every once in a while, it can lose you a significant amount of time. So another one of those. Do it if you feel comfortable with it. Don't force yourself to do it.
Good job from Vertz to clean up that fight. He handled, I think, not getting the spin right away really well, so that's good from him.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at the times of our runners, both doing pretty well. Emo within 2 minutes of her PB. Vertz ended up with a gold Swamp Palace, and looking like a pretty hot Ice Palace for him as well. Emo currently getting set up for the second of the 2 mirror wraps that we do in this category. Here we're going to be trying to use a mirror wrap to get into Turtle Rock. We have to do that same, walk into the transition and use the mirror at the same time. She did right there. Once you do, go back through the transition. The screen really whips you around, and it puts you right near the entrance to the very back of TR. And from here, we're just going to kind of what we did with Desert Palace. We're going to go backwards through this dungeon, which makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, we don't have to deal with any of the really kind of awful rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely the actual worst room in the game with Chain Chomps. But
yeah, thank you very much.
It's nice, but still a little bit scary, because you still kind of just take a ton of damage if you mess anything with things.
Yeah, this room.
These rollers do 3 hearts. You accidentally touch a poke. That's
getting
4
very
hearts.
unlucky with those bonks there. Do
I
you
don't
know what
understand how-
causes that? I have no idea why that.
I
doesn't
sometimes
work.
I'll do it from the exact same spot and it works once and not the other. I don't understand.
You just gotta keep throwing Link's dumb skull up against the wall and hope that it works.
But yeah, you saw Emo kind of pause in that room to make sure she didn't get touched by the pokies, because we don't need to kill him going backwards through there.
Mm-hmm.
Very scary. That's 4 hearts for sure. Getting my favorite RMG there. But not taking damage, so that's all you're really looking for in this first half of Turtle Rock, really.
Right.
Especially in a race setting. Just not getting hit.
And just like with Death Mountain, once we get the big key, we just mirror right back, and we're going to take the other side of the fork in the road to make our way to the boss. Emo doing a nice cane dash. It was a little scary with the pokey, but did land on the pegs. Depending on if you're looking at 30 frames per second or not, you might not have seen that she had the peg invincibility. But yeah. Gonna be doing some backdoor Trinex. 5 hearts, or 5 hits per elemental head to get rid of them. That'll cause the protective shell around actual Trinex to break away. At which point we are a double spin and a slash away from a dead boss.
Nice fight. And yeah, actually, she only had to hit Ice Head 4 times. Ice Head's silly. Sometimes it takes extra damage from the Fire Rod for reasons.
I believe that's spooky related, though I'm not 100% positive. It's based on where you shoot it and then where the head's position. It gets hit by the spooky splash or not. That's what I've heard.
Either way,
yeah.
You're always swinging at it 5 times, but
yeah.
sometimes you just only have to hit it 4.
Yeah, you're gonna have to wait for the center head to go out, regardless. So might as well just swing one more time to make sure.
But yeah, we have now completed, well, not quite all of the dungeons, but most of them.
A little unfortunate from Vertz when they did their first hit. Ooh, gotta be careful. You can't hit anything to get rid of your bunny state here. The first hit that he did was a poke rather than the spin, so things got a little out of hand, but he was able to get the key and not die, which is the most important. You're right next to where you want to be.
But yeah, so Emo is actually gonna save and quit to get the GT, even though it's, you know, right next to where we just were. But it puts you at the main Turtle Rock entrance, which is not open, so you actually can't get out that way. You'd have to like mirror back, kind of a pain. So that each mirror costs quite a bit of time. And instead we're just going to clip into GT, because we've clipped into basically every other dungeon, so why not?
Yeah.
And there we are.
Yeah, and Emo decided to take a kiss from the old man. Get a full health refill. Gonna make GT a lot safer. You can definitely do this dungeon without getting that heart refill to save a little time. But if you're on a race or you just want to be careful with going through this dungeon, just taking a little kiss is fine.
And yeah, GT is a long dungeon, definitely the longest dungeon in the game, and lots of rooms. You're gonna like have a high probability of getting hit a bunch. So taking the refill, totally worth it. Like even in PB pace runs, worth it sometimes. It's really easy to have GT go bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah, here, Emo, first thing we have to do in GT is get to the big key, which is all the way down to the bottom of GT. Taking the warp maze there, but we know which warps to take, so not a big deal. Heading over to our first kind of mini boss fight in GT, which is Ice Armor. Should be not too bad with Silvers, but the ice does have a tendency to make this fight a little bit different than you'd expect a lot of times. So you really have to know what's going on. But hopefully 6 arrows here and we're out of this fight.
Ooh, just led that a little ahead, but we're still fine.
Okay, and with Silvers, don't need any more arrows from this point on, so actually might get a 5-pack somewhere in GT, but either way, should be good on arrows. Should be sitting pretty comfortable. Big thing to watch out for is to make sure that we have 4 by the time we're done with GT. Actually, no, in this cover guard doesn't matter. You can just grab them in Agate Tower if you really need them. But we do want at least 4 arrows for the Ganon fight at the end, so always want to keep an eye on that.
Yep. They're also, depending on if they decide to bow Lammo 2 or bow dash this room right here. I believe that's an Emo and Steven IRL special doing that bow dash. Total swag strat. Gonna be making our way through the gauntlet. Called this because we have to kill all the enemies in each of these next 5 rooms in order to advance
Yep. And Vertz also doing the heal. I just noticed. But yeah, we can see Emo. Normally you would start this split with 8 hearts if you don't take the heal, which is more health than she's currently lost in the dungeon. It's a very difficult dungeon, very easy to just lose health all over the place. So definitely a good call to have gotten the heal.
Yep. And she switched to the Fire Rod, so likely going to be seeing Fire Rod Lambo too.
Yeah, this makes sense. Even though it's like a tiny bit slower, if you've done a bunch of any percent RMG runs, then you're really comfortable with this, and it's like maybe 1 second or so faster to stay on bow the whole time. So definitely, once again, just whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you know works, it's always a good strategy to use.
Absolutely. Ooh, taking a hit. Ooh, and almost got nailed by that laser. That was pretty scary, but made it on by. Gets through the Fusda bridge. Shout out to Fusda. Vertz cleaning up the Ice Armos. And gonna be making his way up Ganon's tower. Ooh, took a clip. Down to 2 hearts.
I think getting the heart there, she wanted to delay that room a little bit just because but the GTG scores most people do. And so really wanted to avoid that, but that also makes the eye lasers timing a bit different. So.
She can pick up a heart right here to at least get it to 3, though if she takes any sort of damage coming up, could be such as that. 2 hearts fighting. You usually don't think of Aga 2 as a damaging boss, but a lot of times, especially if you're trying to go for fast Aga 2s, you can just take a couple hits. So 2 hearts. This is going to be an interesting Aga 2 fight.
Yes, hopefully no issues, but sometimes you just get really awful patterns, and there's not too much you can really do. Aside from kind of just bail on trying to do damage completely, but then you're in the fight longer, so it's like, you know, what's the decision there?
Yeah, you're in a real catch-22 there.
Hopefully Aga 2 behaves here. Because Aga 2, even though this is the first time we've seen him in the run, the first one, nice triple to start. First attack guaranteed to be an energy ball. Second attack is 50-50 whether it is energy or blue ball. And there we saw Emo kind of played it like it was guaranteed to be a blue ball, which is pretty smart given the health
recycle, no damage. Pretty darn good.
About as good as you can ask for, really. Good landmark fight from Vertz. This is the other thing about Tempered Sword as well. If you do happen to miss a fire rod shot, you can clean up the rest of the fight pretty easily with just a spin.
Yeah, and you might be thinking, alright, we just beat Ganon's tower, time to fight Ganon. Nope! We got one more thing to do.
Yes, somebody somewhere made the bad decision that Aga's tower counts as a dungeon.
Tell us how you really feel, Dal.
So, you go through this, and the dungeon, or the tower itself is not too bad. Kind of interesting. You get to use some neat strategy you don't normally get to use. But, then we have to sit through another Aga fight, where it's just pure RNG at this point.
You know, getting a heart drop right there. Buffering her health total just a little bit. The second Aga fight, when she gets to the top of the tower, is not nearly as potentially deadly as the first, but or at the first. This category makes trying to refer to these Aga fights different. The Aga 1 fight is not nearly as potentially deadly as the Aga 2 fight.
But the one nice thing about this category and fighting Aghanim here is that after the fight, you will refill health and mana So, like, as long as you make it through this tower, you're gonna be full health for Ganon, which is great.
Expertly navigating those enemies there.
Unfortunately, didn't get the full magic drop there, which wouldn't have saved any time here, but it's almost cool to get.
You know, switching to hookshot. There's 3 different things that you can really do at this point. Switch to hookshot, stay on the fire rod, switch to bow or a boomerang for handling that room.
And Vertz has actually had a pretty good GT. His Agaphite is
giving him some issues.
A little bit, yeah, they're a little bit desynced right now. It's hard to deal with, especially. You see him trying to delay that hit so that Ag is on the screen for longer, but yeah, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
And now we're getting the RMGs where Ag just will not cooperate, so you're kind of stuck just praying, especially with how desynced it is.
Speaking of RNG, there we go. Vertz finally finishes it off. We are on to the Aghanim 1 fight. Boss is a cycle of 4 shots. First shot, you can always reflect back at Aghanim. Second shot, second through 4th shots are a coin flip between a reflectable shot and blue balls, which don't do anything. Just break up and literally just waste you time. After those 4 shots, we go to a lightning phase, then we repeat the process all over again until we hit Aghanim 6 total times. I believe she had 1 blue ball on the first cycle. I think we're
I'll be honest, I've had so many blue balls, I've stopped counting. I don't count them anymore. It's just like, whatever you get is what you get.
Yeah.
So,
but
I think that was 2 based off of where it ended in the cycle.
So
we only have
slightly
1 thing
below
left.
average.
Yeah, it's better than average, which is good.
Yep.
But here, 1 thing left in the video game, and that is to beat Ganon. So it's going to take 12 hits in each of the first 2 phases here. Definitely possible to one-cycle both those phases. 3rd phase is going to take 4 hits, but you can't do much. And 4th phase, hopefully just 4 silver arrows to end it.
Yep. We did see Emo pick up the arrows in Circle of Pots, so though she hasn't used the arrows for anything other than Helma and Vidi, it seems like she's gonna remember. Ooh, this is the Trident spin, so likely we're gonna see a 2 and 1.
There's at least a good pattern here to get out.
Up in this corner, you can get a pretty easy 1 cycle. Showing some frustration.
Vertz7, pretty solid Aga Tower himself.
Excuse me.
And yeah, we can see the warps here, also RNG, so the end of this run definitely just a lot of RNG.
RNG heavy, yep. Ooh, no hook dash from Vertz. What are we doing? There we are, yep, using the silver arrows, gonna take 4 of those shots. Oh, that's always unfortunate when you hit him. But
was that a cape slash?
Yeah, but it doesn't send him to blue. Gonna be cleaning it up with this 4th arrow shot. And as long as she doesn't hold up too soon, looks like EmoSaru will be our winner.
Yeah, good job for Emo. Honestly,
Great job.
finishing a run in this category is tough. Always feels good to just have finished a run, especially in a race setting like.
Yeah. Emo coming in with a official SRL time of 1 hour, 18 minutes, and 42 seconds. While we're seeing Vertz work on his Aghanim 1 fight, I have not been counting, though I did see at least one blue ball right there. Looks like we are getting Emo to join us for the interview. She did end up putting a gold Aga Tower to finish off her run. Had a pretty good string since Desert of gaining a bunch of time on her PB.
Pretty sure that was 3 blue balls for Vertz, so that's what we would consider average RMG. It's the most common, at least. It's also the expected value, but yeah.
Looks like we're joined by Emo.
Yo, what's up?
Congrats on the win.
Sure. I'm happy I won, obviously. Shout outs to big Josh RTA energy from about a minute into that run. So
It definitely looked like you were having some hiccups.
I was tilted about a minute into the run, and so literally the whole time, part of me wishes that we could like just have runner voice on the restream, so that you guys could get the full entertainment experience of what was going on in my room. But yeah, that was pretty cool.
So, what do you think? Before we dive too deeply into into the other stuff, looks like you did get a gold Aga Tower. So congrats.
Yeah, that's
on
especially funny actually, because that felt real bad. There are about 8 other splits in this run that should have been free golds. But you have to what do they call it? You have to be a gamer in order to get those golds. And today I was not.
Today
a gamer.
was not.
I was not a gamer. I was not a gamer today.
Looks like Vertz is just about to finish up.
I think that's a PB for him.
Oh
wait, maybe not. No, sorry, I was looking at the wrong timer.
Yeah. Though he did end with 3 golds in a row, so pretty nice there. Looks like
Very
official SRL time of 1 hour, 21 minutes, and 52 seconds. I have to ask you about the Cane of Samaria.
Yeah. Several times, in fact.
There was a couple instances. One, I don't know if you tried to go for spooky and things weren't working out, but you also ended up putting in the Cane of Samaria during the Argus fight, and Dow brought this up to me.
Yes.
Maybe you've learned some secret tech. You want to say a little bit about the Cane of Samaria during?
Yeah, if you are pushing a Samaria block while you catch a crystal, you're going to save 40 frames. So maybe placing that block and then starting the 0 cycle is the strat. I don't know.
It was all a plan.
That's sure. Let's go with that. Actually, what I was going for, it's a hot new rando strat. I hope it will be approved by the Real Racing Council soon. What happened is I'm an idiot. And so I just plopped down the old Samaria block and then sort of sat there for a second and looked at it because I was like, that's not a hook shot. And then I was sad.
We've got Vertz joining us in the call as well. GG's on your run, Vertz.
Hey, thank you, GG Emo.
GG to you too. Yeah, that was fun game.
Yeah, game's fun, right?
Yeah, y'all were pretty darn close to each other. Basically, with a cutscene apart for a pretty long amount of time. I think things started to drift a little further apart at Misery Mire. Vertz had a little trouble with the Mire to, sorry, the Herita Swamp.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I did indeed had to use 2 bombs there. I also had to use not 1, not 2, but 3 bombs to do the Hera bomb jump today, because that's my kind of day.
Oh, yes. I remember.
I lost 2 minutes and 5 seconds in Skull Woods.
Yes.
And so I didn't have the restream up until Mire, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And we can swear on CSR, right? We can swear.
I believe so. Nori, can you?
Yeah.
Can you confirm?
So I yes, it's a mature channel. Oh,
okay,
good.
Cool.
So I turned on the restream at Mire, expecting, because I had watched a little bit of Vertz's last couple of VODs. Just to see where he was at, because I knew what his PB was, but I know everybody's been practicing off stream.
Yeah.
And on stream. And so I saw like the last couple runs, at least the last run, I think you were like a minute and a half, like minus a minute and a half going into the late game, and then stuff went back. So I was like, oh man, I turned it on expecting to be like, okay, now I can just like chill out and, watch the disaster happen on my side.
Mm-hmm.
But then I saw that somehow I was actually like half a Mire ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what the actual fuck is going on?
Mm-hmm.
I was actually, honestly, I felt more sad for whatever happened to him than I did happy about what was going on for me. Because I was like, oh, well, I guess something terrible must have happened to him too. So I'm real sorry to hear that that's what happened.
Yeah, I felt sad for me too, TBH. Yeah, it was just a collection of dumb things that usually don't happen all together, but today they did happen all together, and that's just how it goes sometimes.
So both of y'all went for silvers. Was that going to be the plan the whole time? I know Emo said that she wasn't watching at least until about halfway through the run. Were Vertz, were you thinking about sort of shifting based on where you saw Emo, maybe going for a silverless Helma to try to spice things up a little bit, or silver is always in the cards?
Yeah, silver is pretty much always in the cards. It was especially in the cards. I had Emo's stream open during the whole game, so I was like, all right, I know where I am. So, but we were pretty neck and neck going into Hera and getting silvers. Yeah. So I was like, all right, I don't feel too bad about this choice. And when it's that close, it doesn't matter as much, right? You save a little bit of time if you're that close, I think. But
I think it's just the consistency thing. Like, I have off stream actually, like I've done a fair amount of practice on silverless Helma, and like I can do it, but especially like God, after being tilted a minute and a half into the game, there's no way I was even going to consider doing that. And I've never actually finished a whole run without silvers.
Yeah.
So what tilt? What? I'm trying to think what happened at the beginning. You left the key, in the blue guard, the second.
It was so it was that sequence of rooms, and then weird ass ball and chain guard room, and so like and then a bunch of annoying stuff happened in the rest of Escape, and so I wasn't like big time tilted at that point, but I had that like tilt seed. You know what I mean? Where like the potential for mega tilt is there. It
can fester and grow into something bigger.
And so then like a lot of little things happened, but it was still mostly fine. Then by the time I got to Skull Woods happened, and then that was just like I'm like tilted off the face of the earth.
Yeah, you had your own troubles with the Skull Woods bomb jump. I remember now.
Yeah, well, and it's just like I just kind of defaulted to doing like the dumb thing that I usually do, and so usually it's fine, but it didn't work today, and then got in a bad health situation, and then like a bunch of so it was just, the whole thing was just a mess. And so after that, I was like off the reservation, and then kept having like really. I still don't know how I got bopped by the spike in the room on the way to Mothula. Because it sure did look and feel like I was holding straight down, but whatever. But yeah, it was just a bunch of little stuff like that just like I was donezo mentally at that point.
Vertz, you did end on a pretty hot streak at the end of your run, 3 straight golds in a row. Emo was saying that you were doing some grinding before this. So yeah, it looks like it's paying off pretty well. So
yeah, thanks. I was especially happy with the end game there because, like Emo was saying a couple of days ago, I went into GT like a minute and a half ahead of my PB, and then just lost it completely after that. So
yeah, you had
a loss of time to be here, but saved a lot later.
You had a very unfortunate Aga too.
Yes, I was very mad.
Yeah, that got off the rails pretty quickly.
Yeah, he dodged like every second shot that I could possibly hit him with.
So I've kind of been dominating the questions. Dow, do you have anything for our runners?
I think you covered what I was going to ask.
Okay. Just one thing, Vertz. Remember, make sure that you reset your console and show the so you can show the file screen.
Was just doing that. In fact, yeah.
Cool deal. So yeah, unless any of the runners have anything else that they want to say, I'm gonna hand it over to Nori to close this out.
I just want to say thanks to you guys for commentating and ZSR for the restream, and I also just want to say that I switched to hookshot halfway through Aga Tower just to annoy Duck. So
and he got annoyed. He definitely
just let that be on.
Said something
let that be on the record. So.
Yeah, I'll also say thanks for the restream and thanks for the race, Emo.
Yeah, thanks to you too.
GG's to both EmoSaru and Vertz. It's always fun to watch these races. I enjoy seeing all of the major glitches because it's definitely something different than you normally see. Also, big shout out to M. Kostler and Dow for doing commentary today. Excellent job. And thanks everyone for joining us. I think the next match that's going to be restreamed will be on Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, I believe, and it will be M. Kostler versus Matt 7898. So we hope to see you then. Yes, he will be on the other side of the. Well, he will have a muted mic this time if he wants to have his game audio clean. So okay, so again, thanks for joining us. I think I'll be sending you over to another restream we're having for a Skyward Sword any percent. But have a good night, day, afternoon, morning, wherever you are. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.